So we saw Uddhava come to Vrindavan and meet with Nanda and Yashoda. He spent the whole night talking to them, as we saw. And he gets up in the morning, goes to Yamuna, offers his prayers and all that. And then he comes back, and we saw the gopis saw him. First, they saw from a distance this chariot, and then they were wondering who this is. They were always very suspicious of people coming in very fancy chariots because Akrura came last time and took Krishna away. So they approach him, and as they get close to him, they see that he looks exactly like Krishna. So, as we already noted, Uddhava is the first cousin of Krishna, and he is so devoted to Krishna also that he dresses like Krishna and he looks like Krishna. So, it says here he is also wearing yellow silk, he is also wearing a garland of lotuses. He is also having earrings that looks like Krishna. So in every way it says Tam Vikshya Krishna Anucharam Vrajastriyaha Pralamba Bahum Navakanja Lochanam Pitambaram Pushkara Malinam Lasan Mukharavindam Mani Mrishta Kundalam. So all of these are attributes of Krishna, who is wearing this yellow silk and beautiful flower garland and all the rest. So he's dressed exactly like that. So they are drawn to him naturally, and they all surround him and they recognize that he has come from Krishna instantly. And so they go to him, and they all, by the banks of Yamuna, in a secluded place, they all have this meeting with Uddhava. And there they tell him, "We know you are a companion of Krishna, and you have been sent here by your master. He perhaps remembered his parents, because people at least ought to remember their blood relatives." So the gopis now express their love for Krishna in a very beautiful way. They actually express it as anger. So many times, as we know, when people have intense love, that intense love comes out as anger in a very sweet way, actually. So they say very sweetly to Uddhava that, okay, so perhaps he has sent you because he remembers his parents, at least Nanda and Yashoda, but he probably forgot us. Just as people who are done with their job, they move away. Just as a bee that goes to a flower, takes the honey, and then it moves away. And in this way, when they are talking, there is one special gopi whose name is not given, but who is known to be Radha herself. She has a black bee that comes to her feet. So she speaks to this black bee, and that is called as Bhramara Gitam. Bhramara Gitam means the song to the black bee. And it's a very beautiful, poetic song in Bhagavatam, which is in a completely different rasa of this mood of complaining to this black bee and thereby expressing her love for Krishna. So, first she says, "O black bee, you are a friend of Krishna who is," she says, "a treacherous lover." She says beautifully, "I see that you have all this red saffron on you because you have been on the flower, on the garland of Krishna, which has been embraced by so many, and therefore I see you having this saffron on you, and you've been going around just like your master. So you and your master are no different, because he also, just like you, many women come to him, he embraces them and then he forgets them. Here we gave our everything to him. We walked away from our relations, from our husband, from our son, from our family, and we came to you, and he just simply left us and went away. And now he is probably with some people in Mathura in the same way." So she is beautifully complaining. So this is called as what is referred to as Mahabhava. Mahabhava means the highest mood of love, which Radha expresses in the form of complaint. So the verses are also very beautiful. So it says here, Madhupa kitava bandho ma sprashangrim sapatanyaha kucha vilulata mala kunkuma sharbhinah vahatu madhupatistan maninanam prasadam yadusadasi vidambyam yasya duta svadimrudak. So she says, as we said, every time he comes, every time he has been with us, we have given everything to him, and yet he has completely left us and gone. And we are simply left here with his memories, and we are constantly thinking of him all the time. And he has, in fact, done this all the time, even in his past incarnation. So now, Radha, being fully aware, refers to how in previous incarnations too, whoever has surrendered to him, he has taken everything away from him. Of course, there is the inner grace of taking everything away. So she says to him, she says to the black bee, when he, as Ram, was there in the midst of the fight between Vali and Sugriva, he took away Vali's life. And then when he came as Vamana, he took away everything that belonged to Bali Maharaj. Now here he has come and he has taken away everything that belongs to us. But in fact, the point she is hinting at is the one she has taken everything away is the one who is bestowed with complete grace. So when Vali was killed by Ram, Vali was liberated. When Bali Maharaj had to give everything away, he was bestowed the highest benediction. And similarly here too, when the gopis, they have been taken everything away from them, their attachment to all relations, all possessions, all worldly ties have all been taken away, and they are in the highest mode of love. So what Krishna has given each one of them in every instance is the highest grace by taking everything away. That's why later also Krishna says, we'll see that whoever I bestow my grace, I take everything away from them. Normally, we think grace means getting things, but actually, true grace is when things are taken away, because it is the unnecessary ties, attachments that keep us in the false identification with me and mine. So, when these unnecessary ties are removed, then the true nature is revealed on its own. So, taking away the false ties, removing attachments, removing possessions, removing even relations is the greatest grace. And that's what Krishna does to everyone he bestows his grace on. Here to the gopis, he has done it in the most supreme way. And therefore he says here, Radha says rather to Uddhava, that we have been left with nothing right now. We are simply left with the memories of Krishna, and every moment we are simply remembering him, waiting for him, looking at the road, whether he'll come back, and all the time, constantly in his smarana, that is in his remembrance. So hearing this, Uddhava is extremely moved because, as we can see, Radha expresses the highest form of love where there is not a single thought in her other than that of Krishna, and that is why it comes out as such intense complaint, because all she has in her mind is only one thought, which is Krishna, and waiting for him, remembering him, feeling the pangs of separation from him. So seeing this, Uddhava is completely moved. He says, you have all accomplished whatever is necessary to be accomplished in this, in that you have such abiding love in Krishna. He says, Aho yuyam sma purnartha bhavatyo loka pujita vasudeve bhagavati yasam iti arpitam manah. Your mind is completely surrendered in Vasudeva, and that is the highest purpose of life, and you have attained it so beautifully. He says normally people engage in so many austerities. They engage in all kinds of austerities in order to get this abiding devotion. He says, Dana, Vrata, Tapa, Homa, Japa, Swadhyaya, Sanyamaihi, Shreyobir, Vividaishchanye, Krishna Bhaktir hi sadhyate. To get Krishna Bhakti, people do all this. They do dana, they do vrata, observe vows, tapa, austerities, homa, they engage in sacrifices, swadhyaya, they study books, sanyama, they regulate their senses. And by doing all of this, they are trying to attain this one thing, which is abiding devotion for the Supreme Being. And here he says, Bhagavati uttama shloke bhavatibir anuttama bhakti pravartita dishtya muninam api durlabha. So he says, you have got this without any of this. You have not done any tapas, any homa, any dana, any vrata, none of that. Just with your complete dedicated love, with your mind fully surrendered unto Him, you have got that which is so rare even for the great saints. He says, Muninam api durlabha. Even the munis find it very hard. It's very rare even among munis to find it. You have left everything. He says, Putran, Patin, Dehan, Svajanan, Bhavanani cha hitva avranita yuyam yat krishnakyam purusham param. He says, you've left everything, all attachments to family ties, to relations, and you've completely surrendered your mind, body, and soul unto Krishna. And in this way, you are in this pure mode of separation. He says, Sarvatma bhavo adhikrito bhavatinam adhokshaje virahena mahabhaga mahan me anugraha kritah. Such a beautiful verse. He says here, due to your separation from Krishna, you've developed exclusive devotion. And this is the greatest boon that in fact you've been bestowed by Krishna. And then he says, I have a message from Krishna. So Krishna has sent a very short and sweet message to the gopis. He tells them that your separation from me is, as a matter of fact, not possible because I am always present in the hearts of all. So now, having gone to Mathura, Krishna speaks to the gopis as the pure essence and tells them that I am the very heart of you all. He says, Bhavatinam viyogo me nahi sarvatma kachit yata bhutani bhuteshu kam vayu agni jalam mahi. So he says, just as the living entity can never be separate from the five elements. So the five elements being soil, water, fire, air, and space, we can never be separate from it because they are all inside the body and outside the body. Everything there is only the five elements, and therefore there can be no question of separation. Similarly, Krishna says, as one with the body the five elements are, I am one with you all. At all levels, as the heart, as the very beloved, and as the very self of you all. So he says, then Atmani Atmana Atmanam Suje Hanyasu Anupalaye Atmaya Anubhavena Bhutendriya Gunatmana. He says, and everything comes forth only from me. Now Krishna reveals to the gopis who are all seeing him only as their beloved, that I am your beloved and I am the supreme self of all. From me comes everything, in me abides everything, and unto me subsides everything. And this pure self is ever unchanged, unmoving, unperturbed, and that is always in your heart. He says, Atma Jnanamaya Shuddho Yatirikta Gunanvayaha Sushupti Swapna Jagrit Maya Vritti Bhariyate. So he says, in all three states, whether it be Sushupti, deep sleep, Swapna, dream, Jagrit, wakefulness, we go through these three apparent states. And these three apparent states that one goes through are all pervaded by the one pure self, which is the only true state. So all the states that seem to come and go are only transient, and also they are only provisional, we can never actually consider ourselves to be in any state without the use of thought. It is thought that tells us that I am in wakeful state, I was in dream state, I was in deep sleep. Without the use of thought, there is no such thing as a state. So all states and the association with them are all only transient and illusory. What is real is only the essence which is unchanging, which is beyond all states. Therefore, Krishna says that is the true essence of your being, and that very essence is me. So, Krishna refers to himself as the pure sense of being, as the supreme self. Gopis have so far seen Krishna only as their beloved and interacted only in this mood of sweet Madhurya Rasa. But of course, during the Gopi Gitam itself, they were given a hint by Yogamaya, because of which they said, "You are the self of all." And now Krishna elaborates on it in this message through Uddhava and tells them that I am indeed your very self. You can never be separate from me. So, the only thing I can give you to conclude this message, Krishna says, the reason I am away from you is because the separation you are feeling, with which your intensity of love is so high, is the greatest benediction I can give. Because even seeing the presence is only going to be less intense than feeling the separation. So when we see some vision of Bhagavan, even through our senses, that vision is still partial, because it is only based on what the senses can perceive. But when the entire being is devoted to the remembrance of Bhagavan, and there is such intense feeling of separation and thereby surrender, then that is the true presence of Bhagavan felt through every pore of one's being. So that is the benediction, that is the blessing, the boon that Krishna has given these gopis by being away from them. So this is the message he gives them. They are all very pleased to hear it. They all thank Uddhava for this beautiful message, and then they ask, how is Krishna doing? So now that they have been given this beautiful message, now they finally make actually inquiries about Krishna, and they say, how is he doing in Mathura, and how is the kingdom? We are happy to know that Kamsa has been killed, and I hope everyone is happy now. And so they send their inquiries to Krishna, and Uddhava also spends time with them, and then he decides that, seeing this intense mode of love in the gopis, he decides that he should spend more time there, because Krishna, when he sent Uddhava, again outwardly he sent with the purpose of giving his message to the gopis. But the inner purpose, every time Krishna does anything in his avatar, we see there is an outer purpose and an inner purpose. The inner purpose of sending Uddhava is actually to make Uddhava learn from the gopis, because Uddhava is his dear friend, and Uddhava needed to get the taste of the highest devotion. So Krishna sends Uddhava for that purpose inwardly, though outwardly he sent him as his messenger. So Uddhava, exactly as Krishna had purposed, he realizes the intensity of the devotion of the gopis, and therefore he decides to stay there, and every day he meets with them, talks to them. They share with him all the beautiful pastimes they've had with Krishna. They show him the Govardhan mountain, the pastures, the banks of Yamuna where they had Rasa Leela, all the beautiful pastimes, Leelas, everything is shared by the gopis with Uddhava. He sees everything and he is filled with such intense love, and he then tells them that you have such devotion. Asam aho charana renu jushamaham syam vrindavane kimapi gul malataushadhinam. He says to them that my only prayer now is to be as a creeper or a plant or a herb in the forest of Vrindavan, which is touched by your lotus feet. The lotus feet of the gopis are so elevated that he says, all I pray for is to be a creeper in Vrindavan that is touched by your lotus feet, because your devotion is so high to Krishna, it is unparalleled, and therefore he offers his obeisances to them, and then they are also very happy, and then he takes leave after a few months. Nanda gives him a lot of gifts, and then he comes back to Krishna, reports all that happened, and Krishna is very happy to see his friend Uddhava back, and realizes that Uddhava has got the highest lesson in devotion.